Should have one of those.
We should have one of those. Hi, everyone. What is one of those?
Everyone.
What should we have?
What is the mystery? We should have, okay, I was trying to think of something more clever. I can't right now. We were saying, because Justin, as we were logging in, Justin was like, oh, we can have an intro video. And then I was like, oh my God, we should totally have an intro video, like on the radio. But here we are.
I'm still
no intro video.
learning my way around the live stream platform. Thanks for watching. If you're watching us live on LinkedIn or checking us out later, all good. I am Justin. This is Shaziya. I started an agency called Ércule. Ércule works on organic growth, and we do this for B2B SaaS companies, some dev tools companies, and we really work at the intersection of content marketing and producing content and writing and ideas, but we also work on code and systems and setting up AI workflows and analytics. We try to put all that together to build content systems for our clients. So I'm Justin. Shaz, you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Yes. Hi, I'm Shaziya, partner at Ércule. We work on all things content, product marketing, and code and everything lately. It's funny, as we're on the live stream, I have this habit, like whenever we're on a Zoom call, I'm like always saying the clever things I want to say in the moment in chat. And I'm like, I wish I could do that here, but I can't because it won't show. So anyways.
You totally could. You could. We have to give you permissions. You could create a banner with clever things, and then you could.
That would be great.
Amazing.
Well, because the one thing I wanted to say is when Justin said Ércule, I wanted to be like, ooh, Ércule. Cheesy, but here we are.
That's not the worst. Some people actually pronounce it that way.
No, there's Ércule, if you remember that from spring.
That's right. That's right. Yep, exactly. So today I think we want to talk about open source and open source content systems and content systems. And we've been, I don't want to say putting it off, but I've had other stuff I've wanted to talk about. Shaziya, why do you want to talk about this?
So I think, firstly, it's a repo that we have recently open sourced. And I think
it's a
press hit. What?
It's a press hit.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. Yeah. And the other thing is, in the world that we are in today, we're all learning together. And I think that it would be great to talk through some of the work that we've been doing, some of the work that we've been putting in, for ourselves, for our clients, and sort of showing out to the world, man. Show it off.
Okay, cool. Yeah. It's so hard to do marketing. Marketing is just difficult to talk about.
Marketing is hard.
I want to quiz you one more quiz question, Shaziya, which is, I think we will show off what this is and talk about like what a content system even is. It involves GitHub, it involves some code, it involves restructuring the way that you organize your marketing assets. We're going to talk about that in a second. But why do you like this? Like, does this feel like a promising direction, Shaziya? Help me get people excited about this, because I spend a lot of my time now writing prompts and writing workflows and writing code and doing all sorts of other things. But somebody who's not doing that all day, like, why should people be excited about what we're about to show them?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing it comes down to is sort of that, like, it's not just the one-stop shop of, hey, we are creating content. That means we wrote a blog post and we're just going to go publish it. It is an entire system that takes into account your analytics, your goals, your positioning, your messaging, what's happening in the world. Even things like, hey, we sent you a buyer's guide to review. You've given us some feedback, and that feedback now has become permanent as a skill, because we're going to make sure that you don't have to give us that feedback again. And so I just think it really shows off sort of the breadth of like what we've been doing as a content systems and an organic growth agency, but also from a product perspective, I think it shows that there's just a lot of potential in how we're building and how we continue to build for, kind of the way the world is going today.
Great. And I love
and then I want to say, sorry, Justin, the context behind it, because I was just chatting with one of our newer clients earlier, and, we talked about Git, and they're moving everything to Git. And one of the best practices that I thought of was like, we're building context at this point, right? Like, it's not just throwing some things in a repo and like, eventually merging a PR. It's truly like building the context that's going to help create the content that's going to drive your pipeline, which is what we're trying to do. So
cool. Okay. Great setup for this. I'm spending so much time working on it. I'm like, I don't know, is it like, I think it's really important and cool, but it's hard for me to talk about it in a way that doesn't make me sound like
you were just gonna say you love something. So what was it, Justin?
I have already forgotten. I'm
Nice.
sure I will remember what it was, but yeah, I think it's okay. So let's switch over, and I'm going to start by just sharing my screen. I'm just going to jump into it.
Yeah.
So the way we work with clients, and I am sharing my screen, but it's a little challenging to do sometimes in StreamYard. Okay, the way that we work with clients, not all of our clients, but many of them, is there is a component of our work that takes place in GitHub. And that component is that we feel that we are really building software with some of our clients. So that would have been a crazy thing to say 3 or 4 years ago, but in my opinion, when you are, I don't know if I would even say this is true of all agencies. In fact, it's true of probably very few agencies or consultancies or whatever we are. But we really view engagements with clients and our work as like, we're building software with you. It's your organic growth software. It's your marketing software. It's everything that really enables the activities of like just becoming visible for the messages that you're trying to send. And so we're building systems to do this. We're building software, and GitHub is a place where people build software, as Shaziya and I both know from personal experience. So we build these systems with clients, and what we did a couple weeks ago is we open sourced a part of our standard content system that we use. So if I continue to use the software, really think of this as software. We work with clients, we build them the software both to generate and edit and analyze and give context and do all these other critical marketing tasks. And some of those tasks are constant from client to client. So very basic stuff like, hey, I want to transcribe a video into a blog post, and I want it to have our voice and tone, and I want it to have a different angle, and I want it to be this and that and the other thing. Great. That is a workflow with all of the steps that we can put in here, and in fact is in here, a workflow, and I'll show you in a second, that goes to YouTube, grabs the video, downloads it, transcribes it, transforms it, does all this stuff, and pushes it to your CMS. That's one example. Another one is we always run FAQ finders for our clients. So these are workflows where we go out and we look at like, what are people actually asking on Reddit, actually asking on LinkedIn, actually asking in some cases on ChatGPT. That is a standard workflow that we have. And so it's in here, and we open sourced it. So there's a lot of things in here that are very specific workflows that your team can bring into Claude and run them, and they will do things for you. The other thing that we have open sourced here is the structure of how we think one of these repos can look, one of these marketing brains or marketing hands or whatever it is can actually look. So there is a practical piece in here where you can point Claude at this and use some of what's in here right away. But there's also a piece that we're trying to develop also for ourselves about what does marketing's GitHub repo actually look like? Well, we think it might look something like this. So I'm going to pause there before I get into the details of what's in here. But Chaz, anything to like add, or any other thoughts that you?
I was just gonna say, like, you explained that beautifully. So kudos. Show us the thing, Justin.
Cool. And then I'm going to put a banner up here too, which is like, what should a marketing team's GitHub repo look like? Question mark. We'll put that banner right up here. Okay, so there are a couple things, but what we've been doing, first of all, there's a big setup piece here, which has some skills in it that you can do things like, oh, I want to maintain my skills. I want to maintain my workflows. All that's in here. It has a README. The README has a lot of good stuff in it. A lot of it is like about how this is built and what we're thinking about. So what I'm going to show you in a second is that this repo is divided into the marketing brain and the marketing hands. And the brain is all of your context about what the product is. It's based on a lot of work done by Janessa Lance, and her also open source repo that we point to in here. And then there's the hands, which are the actual workflow. All of it is described in here, but you can see there's the brain and hands piece. There's like your workspace versus the shared workspace. There's a documentation map. All this is in here. We also put in an example company in the context, and I'll explain what that means in a minute just to help understand what everything is. So all this is in here, and that's kind of the introductory stuff. And then you can see the context folder, and the context folder is marketing brain, and the workflows folder, which is marketing hands. So if I go into the context folder, we've put this, there are a bunch of different things here, and we don't know what the right like setup for this is. It's very early, but again, we've drafted off a lot of the work that Janessa has done on her repo. In fact, the first version of this is simply transcluding her repo in here. And there are a bunch of things in here like, what is our canon? And our canon is all the stuff that we agree on. That's just like basics that we're not going to move around too much in the short term. So like what we do, who it's for, all of those things, what our pricing is, what our customer proof is, all that stuff is canon. And the example that I put in here is a Concur competitor called Gallivant, which I made up, but that's all in here. So you can see like who is, what are our key messages? Okay, that's all this stuff in here. And then, you got your themes, all those things.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
As it comes to the context, how do you go about categorizing and organizing it?
So other than this set of canon, there is also reference, which is for kind of random stuff. So right now I have an origin story in here. And then there is also entities, which are for things like competitors. I'm sidestepping your question a little bit because I don't think anybody has a very clear schema. But I would say because almost every marketing team is starting from zero, the first things I'd like to see in here are those canon items like who we are, who are we for, what's our pricing, what are the proof points. Pricing should be easy, but the rest of them might take more time. That's really good. And then separately, extra credit for a detailed messaging framework, a detailed take on your competitors, all those things.
See, I love that. And the reason I ask is I know a few weeks ago on our live stream, we talked about, hey, do you put all the context in like one file and that's it? Or are you actually categorizing? I love that we're categorizing because I think that, if you're building, I don't know, say a buyer's guide, you might not need one piece of it. And instead of confusing the LLM or how the skills are used, I think it's better that it is categorized so it's easier to find. Yeah. Like more of the discoverability aspect of it.
And one of our sort of things that we've learned from building a lot of these that is baked into this repo is the idea of context engineering. Here are the things that agents are bad at and AI is bad at. Anything original, sounding consistently like a human, extending things in a new way, being exactly verifiably right. Those are all things that LLMs are really bad at. Now you can get around some of them by having the LLM write code that, there's stuff you can do, but most of those things LLMs are really bad at. Another thing they're bad at is choosing what context actually matters. So what you don't want to do is throw 1,000 pages of context as an agent. We have had way more success with, here are literally the 7 or 8 paragraphs that of context that you will need for this particular task, and that's it.
Yeah, I think it does come down to being more prescriptive versus like, here's everything, try to figure it out, because it doesn't. And I think that's where you kind of need the human in the loop where we're like, yeah, it's not just going to be this big blob of text that you're going to have to go through, but here's the specifics that you need.
So I think today is kind of a teaser for how this looks, and maybe this is a longer form webinar or something in the future. But I will spend a few seconds on that's what context looks like, and then let's talk about the workflow side. And I'll spend a minute or two on this. I'll spend a day or two, and I'll spend a minute or two on it. And actually, I don't want to do that. I do want to go here. So going back up to the root, we talked about setup, we talked about context, and now let's talk about the hands, which are workflows. So I have a couple of examples in here. One of them is the FAQ responder and the FAQ finder workflow, which is in here. And actually, it's probably in the ops folder. So here is, where is this? Somewhere in here is the FAQ finder. There's some other stuff in here too. In the ops folder, there's things like, oh, I want to convert a Google Doc to Markdown. Great, there's a skill for it. Or I want to transcribe a YouTube video. There's a skill for it. But let's see what else is in here. There's the edits. And there's also the generation. And I think those are the things that I have in here right now, but we'll be adding more. And the general thing to understand about the workflows is each one of these has a pretty long workflow in it that has a bunch of steps that the agent needs to take. So even something like finding FAQs and then generating responses to them, we always run a pre-flight step that just makes sure that you can actually get to the documents before you try to do anything else, because agents won't check. And then they will try to do something and they'll hallucinate facts because they couldn't get to the documents. Resolving targets. This is about making sure that you can access all the skills that you need to run this. And a lot of these are very short and they're readable by humans, and that's very intentional. There are some other ones in here too, like drafting a response. Here's where that part comes in, and like fetch the page, call this, and then here's how you do it. And there's some examples here where we connect to the brand and we connect to other things so that that response is useful. So that is the very quick sort of overview of how this is organized, which is we have this workflows. It breaks down into 4 general tasks that we want agents to do. It can do research, it can do content generation, it can do content editing, and it can also do operations like staging things to your Webflow or whatever it is. And then within each one of these, you will have a workflow that bakes in some of those things that we've learned after creating thousands of these, which is like, you always want a pre-flight, you always want to, keep things really short and human readable. But the goal here is to continue adding more of those workflows that we're using across clients so that, folks can go into these repos and not have to reinvent the wheel.
Yep. I have an interesting thought. What do we do? What's kind of our process when a client has their own repo where they're doing some of this stuff already?
Yeah, or when you, the viewer, might have your own repo.
Yeah.
So the way the content systems public repo is set up is it assumes that it is going to live in a workspace together with, a client's own stuff or your own stuff, you, the viewer. When we use these with clients, all of our client skills that we build specifically reference the public repo for certain things. So within any client folder, there are, potentially 20 or 30 workflows that are doing different things like research or staging content or updating old blog posts or doing all those things. And where appropriate, those are all pointing back to that open source GitHub repo, which an agent can always get to. And that's nice too, because people get the benefit when we improve them.
Yep. Love it. Okay. I feel like 15 minutes is never enough. Somehow we always go over, and I love it. Maybe we need a 30-minute live stream, 40-minute one. Kidding.
Maybe exactly, something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, like Shaziya, you should show up in Portland on Saturday, and we're just like, hey, we're going to Tropical, which is a bar about 3 miles north of here that will serve you a pina colada in a hollowed out pineapple. And
How
we're going to
fun!
What a marketing team's GitHub repo should look like. All right, we'll let y'all know.
Okay. Wow. Yes. Let's talk about this. Maybe I just show up and not even tell y'all. And then
I'm ready, and that invitation's open for anybody who's watching this too. If you want to come,
come to Portland or Seattle.
All right. Well, we're just about out of time. Shaz, do you want to take us out?
Yeah. Thank you all for joining us. We're Shaziya and Justin. We help build content systems for our clients and organic growth and run organic growth for our clients. We're ércule, and it's very nice to see you all. See you next week.
Thanks, all. Bye.
Thanks, all.